Okay, so we're back now for part 2 of our Saudi Arabian Grand Prix recap. Okay,
Pretty crap.
yeah, Freudian slip. This is a great show, everybody. A recap of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. This is the bad. This is the bad parts we saw. Before we get into it, like I said, I only have one bad, but I want to give an honorable mention. One of those honorable mentions was going to be about Austin Martin, but we talked about it in the last episode. Go back and listen to our Saudi Arabian good recap. But the other one, my honorable mention is Lewis Hamilton. And the reason he's an honorable mention and not a bad is because it's too early in the season to be crapping on bad performances by him. And I can see him still turning around this season with Ferrari and still having a good time with Ferrari. But holy shit, he's starting to sound like he did at the end of Mercedes already. He's already saying I'm fighting the car all the time. He's already sounding despondent. He's already sounding like they're favoring Charles. Charles is even coming out adding fuel to the fire, saying I'm focusing on the car I want, the car Lewis wants. And it's just already a clusterfuck there. But I'm not willing to write him off just yet because I think he just may need more time to adjust to that Ferrari. But not a good weekend for him. And let's hope he can turn it around for the sake of F1 and this season.
All right, that's fair. I wasn't going to put Lewis in the episode, so I didn't think it was necessarily great or bad. But now that you brought him up, I do have to mention a bad from Lewis. His hair that weekend. I'm not sure if you saw it.
The dreads, is it dreads or is it braids? I always get those confused.
It was neither. It was out. It looked like he had a Jerry curl mullet. The only time I saw him was when he had a Ferrari hat on, so it was just looked like Jerry curls out the back of it. Looked like he had been hanging around Valtteri Bottas a little bit too much. You know, he's a very fashion forward type of guy, but that was a miss, I gotta say. It was something.
Well, he's starting to act like Valtteri Bottas. That's for sure. What? This brings me to the joke by Greg Giraldo. Afro Sheen. Some white people have heard of you, but nobody knows what you do. Is that what he? Is that what he had on? Like I'm trying to look at the pictures here. It's like what's going on here?
I plead the fifth.
I might have to cut that part out. Anyway.
Yeah,
it wasn't a good look for him.
No. Other than that, I mean, he had a fine race. He ended up getting some points. What is that, 8th place, 6 points?
4. Or he got 7th.
He got 6 points.
So then he got 7th then.
Okay, 7th place. So that seems to be where he's at this year.
Yeah, that might just be Ferrari's new normal. It might just be the pressure they put on themselves to win the constructors this year, be the best, and of course they missed.
Yep.
All right. Before I go off, what were your bads of the week, or bad?
Well, I do have an honorable mention here. I'll just get out of the way quickly. I don't think there's much to talk about. Isaac Hadjar got P10. Not a bad weekend. He put in the work, outclassed his non-rookie teammate. So, good on you, Isaac. The bads, just so people don't think I'm a complete Yuki shill, Yuki had a bad weekend.
Oh, for sure.
We saw evidence that the car really is set up to be very pointy. Right? His crash in practice, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, practice.
Practice 2, yeah.
Yeah. He shouldn't have been that tight to the wall on the inside. That's a symptom of the car being too sensitive. Like, he knew where he wanted the car to go, and it went further. All right, so that's what we've been saying all along, that the car is very nose happy, which is what Verstappen wants. He wants a very pointy front end, and that's how you end up with that. Yuki just underestimated it, ended up in the wall. broke the suspension, ended up in the opposite wall. Not a great move, nothing particularly in it. Like, I don't fault him too much for that. It was a pretty innocuous mistake, but shows he's still coming to grips with the car. Um, Made it to Q3, but this is where I see a deficit in Yuki. He doesn't seem to know what the fuck to do in Q3.
Huh.
Every time I've seen him in Q3, whether it's with RB or Red Bull, he just doesn't go out, doesn't do anything in Q3, kind of accepts that he's going to be at the back of the pack. So this weekend, it seems that he was sent out there to help tow Max Verstappen to pole, which then sacrificed his running, and he ended up in wherever it was, P8, P9.
P9.
P9. So the only person that he beat out was Norris, who ended up in the wall. So that's not great. But hey, he made it to Q3. Better than we can say for what's his nuts there.
Yeah, like we've said a million times, this is a process. There's going to be good.
Yeah.
There's going to be 2 steps forwards and 1 step back. I think this is a 1 step back weekend. I wouldn't necessarily put him in the bad. Like that first lap incident. It happens. And Gasly even said, I went off the road, not to pass, but he went off the road because he didn't have much space to keep his momentum. And sure enough, I think like Yuki simultaneously oversteered and understeered. So yeah, it just speaks to.
Don't get me wrong.
Go on.
No, you finish.
I was just saying it speaks to the erraticness of the car. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, I don't put him in the bad because of that incident. I put him in the bad because, he's still clearly not up to speed with the car, which is fine, but it was a rough weekend for him. And then his performance in Q3 was non-existent, which he's got to get on top of that. I think he's already head and shoulders above Lawson. But now he's actually got to show that he's got something else in the tank. The incident with Pierre, that was, in my opinion, the epitome of a racing incident.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that one on board for both, and I couldn't necessarily pick out anything that was wrong with either. They both went into that corner. They both had room. They both did what they could, and they came together. It was 50-50. Like, I really can't fault either of them. And apparently they called each other after the race, and they've worked it out, and they're still friends. Like, they see the same thing, right? Which is best case scenario for it. So, shitty circumstance, but I don't think that's going to hurt him any. Yuki will bounce back from that, no problem.
That's a really good point you make about his Q3, because he wouldn't have been in that position if he had a better Q3. And
yeah, exactly.
But it speaks to a mentality that I think he's slowly going to build. All of his great performances in Q3 qualifying thus far have all been flukes. Like none of us saw it coming, and right. That speaks to his mentality. He's got to start acting like he's fighting for pole every time, and you're right. He's not doing that. Well said. Okay. I'm assuming we both have Norris on this list.
Yes.
I have a lot to say, and I actually even have a philosophical principle, something we haven't brought up since the ship of Theseus, to describe Lando Norris. But I would like you to go first, unless you have, if you have a non-Norris bad, say it now, speak now, or forever hold your peace.
No, I think Norris is the big one on our plates right now. So from my standpoint, he had a bit of a scrappy weekend all around. Was not happy with the car, wasn't putting it together. Again, I wish we had done this closer to the race. Not your fault this time, Nick. It's more my fault.
It's both of us.
But yeah, he was not having it, and got caught out on a treacherous part of the circuit and ended up bending it real hard. And just, I don't understand how a car like that is capable of winning in both drivers' hands. Like, we're not seeing the offset in performance that we are in other teams necessarily. Some of the points tallies might suggest otherwise, but I firmly believe both drivers are capable of putting in good performances in that car. And to see Norris come out this weekend and be so far off of Piastri and to bin it so badly in Q3, I think he's lost it. I have nothing else to say other than he's already given up for the season. Like, it shouldn't be that bad.
I don't think he's given up. But if you're McLaren, and I'll ask you this, if you're McLaren, would you risk the driver's title and potentially the constructors by trying to support him over Oscar at this point?
They have a team of people whose job it is to support him. You don't have one team and they choose who to cater to. One team encompasses two separate teams. Each driver has their own mechanics, their own engineers, their own everything. This is not an argument of who do we support. In the race, it's a different story because then you have one pit crew that you're allowed, right? So it's a matter of who do you pit first, and you have to make decisions accordingly.
Yeah, that's right.
But the cars can be two separate cars. Look at Yuki and Max. They've gone two separate directions. Max has his car the way he likes it, and Yuki is working to smooth out his car. You can do both.
I meant in the
Norris
race.
shouldn't.
But yeah, go on.
But that's irrelevant. We didn't even get to the race, and Norris was a fucking shit show.
That's a great point.
Norris has the team to support him. Norris has the team to give him the car that he wants. But he's given up. He's throwing his hands up and going, I don't know, I can't do this. Well, how the fuck did you get here? You didn't get here by giving up. You got here by actually trying. He bested three teammates actually, who are very well acclaimed drivers in F1. He bested Alonso, unless I'm mistaken.
No, he came in as Alonso left. I'm not going to give Norris that one. Alonso retired for 2019. Norris took over.
Oh, okay. So he was never Alonso's teammate then.
Yeah, no, he was not. Yeah, he was the reserve driver under Alonso.
Right. All right. So he bested Sainz and he bested Ricciardo. And then he comes out and he can't get a hold of this young Australian who, for all intents and purposes, sounds like he doesn't want to be there. Like, you listen to his personality, right? And I've heard a couple interviews with Piastri where he'll admit that he's not a car guy. He got into karting because his father wanted him to.
Does that sound?
And now he's...
Sounds familiar.
Sorry?
Sounds familiar. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
Right? It sounds like he'd be more happy racing RC cars than Formula One. Yet here he is leading the F1 World Championship. And Norris is giving up? Like, this is what I don't understand.
I just want to say one thing. You're right about almost everything. Let's give Carlos his props. He beat Norris in both seasons. They were together. The second season, Lando's second season in 2020, it was only 8 points.
Okay.
So it was close. And that could be like any mistake, like one mistake in a race or mechanical failure, although it looks like Carlos had more of the mechanical failures. Yeah, so it was close. So he was close to his distinguished, experienced partner in 2020 in his second season, which is impressive.
Yes.
And Norris got
so that's fair. That's me speaking very passionately, but yes, okay. Mm-hmm. But either way, you get my point, right?
No, absolutely, you're right. Yeah.
He made his way to where he is now by being very dominant in what he wanted to do. And specifically what stands out to me about Norris is that even if he was in a bad position, like he got a shitty pit stop and ended up falling back through the pack, what made Norris what he is today is the fact that he could come back after a shitty pit stop and gain 10 positions. Right? I think we saw that in Austria in 22, I think it was, where by the end of the race, he was a couple of seconds off of the podium after coming back from a 10-place deficit or something like that. Like, I forget the details, but it was an insane amount of positions he gained in no time at all. So, yeah, I think to see him this distraught at this point in the season when he's realistically 10 points off of his teammate, it's not insurmountable.
But he's acting like
But if
it
he,
is what you're saying. He's
yeah,
acting like he does.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if he doesn't stop fucking around, he's going to lose to Max Verstappen because Max is 2 points off of him.
And 2 points off with dealing with a monster car. So, like I've said this a million times this year, if he figures it out, it could be lights out for both of them.
Yeah.
But what you talked about was something interesting. He could make comebacks from shitty positions. And that speaks to something I talked about last week when I compared him to Charles Leclerc. That when the pressure's off and it's just race, don't worry about where you finish, and you're in a deficit, so just overachieve a non goal. Like there's no goal in those moments. They're like, oh shit, we fucked up. Do what you can. Show us what you can do. There's no goal there.
Right.
There's no focal point. There's no I need to go for this. When he's just free to drive, like Charles, without any expectation, they're excellent.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't say it's going to be your year and assume and act like you're going to win and then
Right.
bottle it. And just to also another thing that you said, just another point to that, he may have overachieved great positions from deficits, but the mark of a great champion is someone who wins when they're not supposed to win. They've all done it. They've all had race wins where you're like, how the fuck did they do that? Even Button won in 2006 Hungary. Yes, every one of his rivals,
Challengers. Rivals, yeah.
in that moment, yeah, they all DNF'd. Michael Schumacher, Fernando Alonso, Kimi Räikkönen, Ralph Schumacher. Yeah, they all, Barrichello, Fisichella, they all DNF'd that race. And that was his first win until the Braun years. It's a pathetic resume.
That's the point I keep making to you. You have to be there to win, right? And that's what Jensen did at that point.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's what you're trying to get to.
What I'm trying to get to is Lando's never ever put himself in that position, even that position.
Right.
Lando's never done a Sebastian Vettel winning with Toro Rosso. Lando's never won a race with Benetton like Michael did. Lando's never won a race like even Fernando did with Renault in 2003 out of nowhere.
Lando didn't win a race till last year.
Exactly. That's what I'm building to. Yes, exactly. He's never been that winner. He's never been that overachieving winner. To be a champion, you have to win a race you're not expected to win. Oscar did that in a sprint in 23. And you can say that's just a non-point, but it's still important. Oscar can win when he's not expected to. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say that because I like the sprints and I think they should count more than they do. So for me, Oscar doing that is a big win for him.
Considering Max won that race, that Grand Prix, by like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So to hold off Max for 19 laps, yeah, it is a big deal.
Yes.
I'm not going to write him off because there's still a long season.
Absolutely.
And he may still prove me wrong. And he has to figure it out. But it's not looking good at this point. And can I just before I get to the philosophical principle, who's the last driver in that chicane at Saudi Arabia in qualifying to crash their car out of qualifying? Can you think off the top of your head?
Max?
No.
The last chicane. Where's the last chicane?
Not the last chicane. Sorry, that chicane that Norris crashed out of. Did I say the last chicane? That might have been a Freudian slip. That specific chicane.
What's his nuts? Mick. No?
Yes. That doesn't bode well for Lando. I'm just going to say that does not bode well for Lando.
But that's you joining dots that don't connect.
I'm just making a funny. Do you think McLaren is going to start talking shit behind Lando's back all season and try to sign Nico Hülkenberg? Anyways, I have a philosophical principle for this moment. Lando Norris is part of Ariadne's thread. his entire career.
Ariadne's thread.
Ariadne's thread.
Okay.
A way to solve a puzzle with multiple ways to proceed. So we're talking about Lando's career. This is
I've pulled it up, but I'm looking at it as well.
Yeah, so it's Ariadne's thread. It's named for this is from Wikipedia. Is solving a problem that has multiple apparent ways to proceed, such as a physical maze, a logic puzzle, or an ethical dilemma. And once again, we're talking about Lando Norris's career. Through an exhaustive application of logic to all available routes. It is the particular method used that is able to follow completely through trace steps or take a point-by-point series of found truths in a contingent, ordered search that reaches an end position. This process can take the form of a mental record, a physical marking, or even a philosophical debate. It is the process itself that assumes the name. Another way of putting it, it's like for anybody who's played Sudoku or Ken, it's you get to a point where you don't have any idea what that particular number for that cell could be, and you have to use assumptions and logic and think, okay, if it's this, then this. If it's that, then that. And you have to go along that line of thinking until you find out whether that is true or false. Or it's like a process of elimination, essentially. And sometimes you can get wrapped up, and this is why this whole philosophical principle of Ariadne's thread is here. Sometimes you can get wrapped up in all of this that sometimes you can lose the whole point. You can get tied in the web, essentially, and you can't escape. And I think that exemplifies Lando's career. They've assumed because of, like you said, oh, he was fast in these certain positions. He's done amazing things. He's overachieved in certain times. That's one day going to be a champion. He's just in the wrong car. That was the assumption 2 years ago, right? He's that good. So logically, in the right car, he will win. Remember all that talk about, oh, if he was in the same car as Max, they would be just as good. They'd be fighting for the title. Well, like in Sudoku, like in Ken, we now know that's not true. It's just been this assumption, I think, this belief by the media that they found their next British champion, you could say one way, or they found their next Max stopper, or they found the next guy, without any actual logic behind it or proof. And all the proof we're getting is that Lando is off. He can't do it. The proof and the truths, like we said, point-by-point series of found truths ordered that reaches an end position. The truths we're finding is that Lando is not a champion. We're discovering that we're going down the wrong thread. And it's going to take Lando this entire season, if he wants to win, to unwind this thread and then go down another thread and just turn around his mentality and say, no longer can I make excuses. No longer can I just believe I'm going to be a champion. Remember, I made a big deal at the end of last year? 2025 is going to be my year. Based on what? Logically, it wasn't there for him to say that. But he's caught up in this now.
Can I stop you there for a second?
Go for it, yeah.
So I think you're on the right path. I'm looking through this at the same time, and I'm seeing things like it's a metaphor for persistence and determination, following through with a plan until there's a solution. And I think it's almost a forced path, right? So using the metaphor, they've taken this thread and they've decided they found the way through this maze. They found the way through the end.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very clear that no, they haven't. And they're sticking to it. And that's the problem now. They're lost in the puzzle, and that's what you're trying to say.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Thank you for clearing that up or saying it another way that someone else can hear that and make sense of my ramblings. They essentially believe something that wasn't necessarily there. And you're right. He has to either stick to that and hope he can make this work with this attitude and maybe get lucky like Jensen Button or lucky like Damon Hill, or I guess there's no other example there.
But that's the sunk cost fallacy at work as well.
Good point.
He's stuck in this is the path that we have to go down, and this is it, and we're going to do it, and this is going to be the solution, without seeing the evidence that no, it's not. And at some point, you just have to pack it in, and I'm not saying he needs to pack it in and say next year's my year, but he has to pack it in and try something new.
Exactly. He can't admit that they've been lying this entire time or bluffing this entire time at this point, trying to bluff into I'm going to be a champion. They can't admit that just yet. Mm-hmm. But I think, and there's another point I want to make because I saw James Hinchcliffe, who I like. I know he doesn't always get it right, but he does ask good questions from time to time. But he wrote an article essentially saying, I'm proud of Lando for admitting his shortcomings and being honest about his shortfalls or whatever. And Sebastian Vettel was saying, oh, it's fine that he's showing his mental doubts or something. I forget exactly what Sebastian said, but he was essentially they're giving him a path of excuse. They're giving him a way out to say, look at what a hero he is, even if he loses, because he admits his shortfalls. And I think at this point, if they really think he can be a champion, they should just leave it alone. Because if he can dig himself out of his hole, he is a champion. And if he's not, don't give him an excuse. Don't give him a path to say, oh, I got unlucky, or oh, I'm screwing up my Saturdays, or maybe the team doesn't support me. I don't know. Whatever he's going to make next. There's always an excuse. And I think we as the media, we as the Formula One media, that I include ourselves, we need to stop giving him a path for excuses. There's nothing he's necessarily doing wrong mentally. There's nothing he's doing wrong physically when he's driving. He's just fucking up. And if he wants to be a champion, he needs to stop fucking up. Caught in the web, caught in Ariadne's thread. Yeah. All right. There's also one other thing that bothered me. It was the way he talked about Ricciardo on the way out in 2022, where he said, like, I like Daniel, but if you don't cut it, you don't belong here. That was a guy who you could argue was wrong place, wrong time his entire career. And
by his own doing, but yes.
Yes. But like, think about the early part of his career. He finally gets to Red Bull, finally gets to the senior team, and they drop a turd. But he still wins 4 races, still overachieved in a way that Lando never did.
He outperformed Vettel.
Yes. Won 3 more races in I think 3 years after that point, and with a car that did not deserve one.
Yeah.
And then Max Verstappen comes in right as Newey came back. I remember you telling me that. Or Newey came back the following year in 2017. And they've already did the demarcation line with Max. And so you could...
Yeah.
And
I think there's an aspect of Max in Ricciardo's decision. But ultimately, I think Ricciardo's decision came from the unknown of Honda. He was scared to deal with a Honda engine that looked like absolute fucking garbage.
Mm.
So he went with what he knew, and he ended up at Renault, right?
Yeah.
Even though the Renault engines were unreliable, they were what he knew. And then that was the death spiral for his career.
He absolutely was not the same after that point.
Yes.
Yeah. I was getting to the point though, like, Ricciardo did things Norris didn't do at that point. And you essentially say, and Norris, you're thinking you've already done those things. Like, he already in 2022, I think, thought he was a future champion. And he did nothing to warrant that. And just the way he talked Ricciardo out of that team, like essentially don't let the door hit you on the way out, always bothered me. And it was always something I kept close to my chest and saying, like, I don't want to say he's not a champion. And I still am not going to say that. But the way he said it, I think he's getting his just desserts right now. He's getting his comeuppance in dealing with someone who everyone thought Lando was going to be Oscar. And Lando is now dealing with someone that he thought he was in 2022 just because he beat Ricciardo.
Yeah.
And that might prove, there's still a long season, not going to write him off, but that might prove to be the death blow. that attitude, and now his comeuppance. But we'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
So, did I almost land it this time? Did my ramblings sort of get to a point there?
I think they did. That's probably your best attempt yet.
Oh, thank you.
So, congratulations. Having read through now Ariadne's thread, did you happen to read the mythological context for it?
Like Ariadne, I think was like Zeus's lover, not Zeus's lover. Dionysus.
Daughter of King Minos.
Explain.
King Minos, the Greek king of Minos. Ariadne is King Minos' daughter. So Ariadne gave Theseus a ball of thread to help him navigate the labyrinth to defeat the Minotaur. Did you catch the name?
Theseus, the ship of Theseus.
That's the one.
Wow, I accidentally got us there. But good on you catching that. It's all coming together, Sean. This podcast is accidentally going to be the forefront of F1 media one day.
It is F1 and it is philosophy, hence the name, right?
It's all coming together, Sean. Not as well. No, everybody knows I'm as stupid as I look and talk, but does make for good podcasting.
Yeah. Now, since you brought it up, I have to get my own philosophical item in here.
All
And I
right.
feel like this one is apt for conversations that you and I have. It's Hitchens' razor. That which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So, whenever we have these conversations and you come up with some ridiculous claim, my justification for denying them out of hand is simply that there is no evidence to justify them, therefore there doesn't need to be evidence to dismiss them.
I like that. So it's going to make it so that you think your point is completely right and I think my point is completely right.
No. If you can't prove it, I don't need to disprove it, so fuck you.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
basically what it comes down to.
that's what you were going to. Okay. I was going to say, like, how does this relate to our discussions? It's like, okay, well, I can't prove that you're right. So therefore, I'm just going to assume what I think is right. No, you're just going to say, fuck you. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll read Hitchens' razor. I'm assuming, yeah, Christopher Hitchens. Is he still alive? No. Died a long time ago. Okay. A long time ago. All right, I think we rambled about Norris enough. I think that was it for our bads, right?
And let me go back to my sheet here. What else do we have in bad? Lawson didn't score points yet again. Boo-hoo.
Doohan finished second last. Let's keep him.
Sure, where'd Gasly finish?
Gasly
Didn't
DNF.
score points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he beat his teammate. There you go.
Yeah.
But I guess we're on the bads, so let's talk about bads. Bortoletto still has no points. Definitely down near the back. Hulkenberg didn't score. Ocon didn't score. Behrman didn't score. They looked kind of shit this weekend, didn't they?
Yeah,
The Haas's.
yeah. My problem though with that, like, this is why I didn't put like Haas or Sauber in the bad. Like Sauber, we're not expecting anything of them. Austin Martin, like, who knows what the fuck they're going with? They're going to have weekends like this. Haas and Williams are going to go back and forth. So just because Haas didn't score doesn't mean they necessarily had a bad weekend.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's why I really just think it's Norris.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, Haas and Williams are 5 points apart, so.
Yeah, and Oliver Behrman, 3 straight 10th places, right? I guess one of them became it was 3 10th straight.
No, 2 straight.
2
10s.
straight, yeah. And then a 10th that became an 8th in China.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they'll either be in it or they won't because Williams will have taken the mantle. It's going to be exciting for those two teams fighting it out this year.
Yeah. And that's why I keep saying watch the midfield races, watch the back of the pack. Like, it may not be exciting up in the front, but what you see midway through the field is actually quite entertaining because they're fighting for tens of millions of dollars. It doesn't seem like it, right? But the difference between fifth and sixth in the Constructors' Championship can be like $30 million or something like that. So it can be quite heated, and it's worth watching because they are very close.
Yeah, and like Haas jumping up last year and getting seventh was big. I know it was the Toyota sponsorship that got them the simulator, but they didn't have to dig out of their piggy bank to buy it, which increased because they finished seventh, and that's why they are slowly improving. So yeah, these are big deal points. They're not garbage points.
Yep, exactly.
But we will end the episode reminding everybody that Nick only believes the top 6 deserve points.
And to that point, Haas is in 6th place.
Yes, but I mean in the race. The Nick points. The Nick points, yeah.
The Nick points. Yeah. We're not going to call it that, though.
No. Not until we are top of the Formula One media. Which is coming, everybody. F1 Philosophy at YouTube, F1 Philosophy at Spotify. Before I call it a night, Sean, did you want to say anything else?
No, I think that's it for me.
We got the Miami Grand Prix coming up. Where's the Price is Right horn when you need it? But
Let's
Imola.
see how many teams make it there.
Why do you say that?
The way things are going, who knows?
Oh,
Sorry?
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I caught on.
The way things are going, who knows? Maybe half the people won't make it into the country.
And Haas doesn't have a factory, or they guess they have the North Carolina headquarters, but I don't know if it's a factory, right? Or is that any development there?
No development there, no.
So they're not allowed in either. That's part of the new rules.
There you go. It'll be interesting. What Americans do we have on the grid? Nobody.
So they'll have to get Americans to race just that race. So we'll see Colton Herta and.
So let me get this straight. In the next 4 days, they're going to have to hire an entire team of people, build warehouses, build factories, put equipment in place, build chassis, suspensions, engines, all in the U.S. to get them on the track for Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it can happen.
It can happen.
Let's do it.
Snap your fingers. Get it done. MAGA.
At this rate, their budgets are shot after this weekend.
No development for you because of the Miami Grand Prix and the Austin Grand Prix. Oh, and the Vegas Grand Prix. Yeah, they're fucked.
Yeah, let's get those cars into the country 3 times.
All right, buddy. It's a pleasure as always. And we'll be back for a Miami Grand Prix recap.
Sounds good.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.